morning, everybody. Thank you to the organizing committee and to the chairman of the conference for the kind invitation to come to India and address this conference. I am not an agronomist, and I know very little about agriculture directly. And so as an outsider, as an economist, I hope that I'm going to say something that is relevant, might be even offensive. I hope not too offensive. That if we all leave this conference hall having agreed with one another that we are wonderful people and that we are saying wonderful things to one another with which we can all agree, then we will have not done our job. So let me start by reminding you of some of the things that you know as well as I do. According to the World Bank, there are 1.2 billion people in the world who go hungry to bed every night of their lives. According to FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, there are another 2 billion people who are living in hidden hunger. That is hunger that consists of not having enough vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients that enable our bodies and minds to fully develop. We really do not know how many people there are in the world today. The World Bank only yesterday made a discovery that there is about 1 billion people who are probably not counted in the official statistics. Some of you might have seen the reports in the press in the last few days. So we know that probably 3 out of 7 people in the world today do not have enough to eat or eat the wrong things. Most of my personal experience has been in sub-Saharan Africa. I've been very privileged to work in 35 countries in Africa, but also in Indonesia. And I do know that there are more people who are in official hunger statistics in 3 states in India than in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. So forgive me if I remind us all of this. And this is why it's so important that we leave determined to do something about changing it. We mustn't leave the hall with a strong message to people outside it, let them eat declarations. That is not what they expect of us. It is not right, and to me, and I'm sure to many of you, as you were saying at the beginning, India is a very moral society. It is morally unacceptable. So, colleagues and friends, let us look together at where we might be at the moment and look at how we can proceed. And it seems to me that we need to start from accepting that there are 3 fundamental fallacies that dominate the discussion about food and agriculture at the present. The first one is that there is a global food crisis. The second is that any shortages of food in one place can be tackled by growing more food in another place and then transporting it. The third is that poor productivity in one part of the world can be remedied by using the techniques of another part of the world. All 3 are fallacies. Let me go into more details. The international institutions, and I do accept that I'm making a blanket criticism of FAO, WFP, and IFAD, and some of the others, but together with the multinational corporations that operate in the fields of food agriculture and related activities, they argue that there is a shortage of food and that the food needs must be resolved at a global level. It's an argument that the academic community is too often willing to go along with it because it gives endless opportunities for research on quantities of food, nutritional value, the stocks that should be held, the cost of genetic improvements, and so on and so on. But this is an absurd stance. There is no global food shortage. There are local food shortages because we all are eating different things. So there may be a shortage of wheat in a part of the world which is living primarily on wheat. In this part of the world there may be shortages of rice. But there are no world shortages, only at a theoretical level. The problems and solutions are related to the specific foods that people eat, the climatic conditions of the areas where those foods are grown, the availability or lack of water, the composition of the different soils, the times of harvest, and so on and so forth. Can one say there is a shortage of maize anywhere? No, it isn't. There are at different times shortages here or there. I know that, for example, in Ethiopia, the main food, the main grain is called teff, and it is basically a cereal that relies on grass. In Colombia, there is quinoa, which is the primary food of local people. And here in India, you've been growing basmati rice and other varieties for millennia. Food costs very little to produce. People have been producing food anywhere, using their labor and the land and the animal to pull their plows forever. But it is expensive to transport. And then it means that any item that doesn't cost very much to acquire, water, wood, food, but costs a lot to transport, transfers immediately the power to the middleman, the middlewoman. And this is dangerous because not only it gives a small number of players enormous power, it also by definition makes the poorest members of our communities unable to achieve that food. And what is happening is because of this idea of globalization of food, we keep forgetting that in many parts of the world, soil is becoming increasingly degraded, that water in many parts of the world has become a scarce resource, and that above all, arable land, which is a finite resource of enormous importance for the survival of the human race, is disappearing fast. The second fallacy is that producing more food somewhere will solve the challenges somewhere else. The second point that I want to make is about the fallacy that producing more food somewhere can be remedied somewhere else. It doesn't work that way. I've been very privileged to be taught by a famous Indian economist, Amartya Sen. He was my lecturer at Cambridge, and I've remained in touch with him. And he has argued for years and years that the key point in the famines, and you in India have experienced some awful famines, is access to food. And that is a political issue, not an agricultural issue. Now, friends, these are the issues which I know we are going to be discussing over the next 3 days. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to kick off some of the very substantial issues which I hope we can address. Thank you.